Section 6.2 is where we will solve systems of equations by substitution. So, when I'm getting started, I look at my system and I'm trying to decide which one is solved for an x or y. So my first step is trying to find that equation. If you'll notice, when I'm saying solve for x or y, I'm looking for one that says x equals or y equals. So on this top equation, you'll see that it starts by saying y equals x plus 1, but on the bottom one it says 2x plus y equals negative 2. This top one is solved for y, since the y is all by itself on the left-hand side before the equal sign. So that will be our equation that we use solve for y. Your next step is you're going to substitute that solved equation into the other equation and then begin to simplify to solve. So what that means is, here's my solved equation. I'm going to put a box around what y is equal to, and that's this expression x plus 1. So put a box around that piece. Then I'm going to substitute that into the other equation. Now it's crucial I pay attention to where I'm going to substitute that. Since I say y equals, I'm going to substitute into the y spot. So what that means is I would take out my y in this equation and replace it with the x plus 1 that y is equivalent to. So therefore, I have replaced that y with this new one, and here is my new equation. Now that step can be kind of tricky until you've practiced it a couple of times, so hopefully after we practice in the next one you'll see a little bit better. So after I've substituted into my new spot, now I have all x's so that I can start simplifying. So I would distribute that 1, so 1 times x, 1 times 1, combine my like terms, subtract 1 from both sides, and then divide by 3. So I would end up getting x equaling negative 1. Once I have solved this piece, I can now take that answer and substitute it into one of the equations. The easiest equation for you to substitute it in is that one that you picked out that was solved for x or y. So in this case, I'm going to use this equation, and I'm going to replace now x as negative 1. So I take out the x and I put in the negative 1. Then I solve what I have left over. So negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Now I have my two coordinates as if I were to graph it. So I would have negative 1 comma 0. And we write it as an ordered pair just like we did when we were solving by graphing. Okay, let's take a look at another example to see if it makes a little bit more sense after seeing it a second time. So here is my system, and remember my first step is to find an equation that's solved for x or y. Well, I see the bottom equation says x equals. The top one has too much stuff before the equal sign, so that is why I will use this bottom equation. I will put a box around what comes after the equal sign, and I will substitute it into the top equation. Now I have to make sure that if it says x equals, I'm substituting into the x spot. So that's like the name. If you said you had a nickname, so Abigail equals Abby, then I have to make sure that I'm substituting it in for the right person, otherwise it's going to get messed up. So here's what my equation would look like after I substitute in this x spot. The negative 3 comes down. In the x, I replace all of this stuff. So I put negative 5y plus 17 in that spot. Then I write down the rest of my equation. So plus 2y equals 0. Now I have it set up so I have all y. So now I would distribute my negative 3. So when I multiply, I get 15y and negative 51. The rest comes straight down. Then I would combine my like terms, so combine 15y and 2y, add 51 over, so I would get 17y equals 51, divide by 17, so I would get y equals 3. Remember, we're not done at that step. We have to now go find the x. So now you plug it into one of your equations. It does not matter which one you plug it into, but my preference is to always go back to the one that was solved if they have it there. So I'm going to take this solved equation, the bottom one, and I'm now going to replace the y with 3 since we said y is 3. So I'm going to take out the y and put in the 3. So my negative 5 will stay the same. Replace the y with a 3 and the plus 17 will stay the same. Now I can solve this and that will give me what x equals. So I can multiply negative 5 and 3 and get negative 15. Bring down the 17, combine those two and I get positive 2. So writing out my ordered pair, remember it's x, y. So I would put x first, which is 2, and then comma 3 for my y coordinate. Okay, I would like for you to pause the video and see if you can try the last one by yourself. Let's see if you can start it at least. So on the last one, here is my equation, or my system. I look for a solved equation, so I'm looking for the one that says x equals or y equals. I notice that it starts on the bottom with y equals, so this is my solved equation. So I put a box around what comes after the equal sign, and I'm going to substitute it into the top equation. I'm going to replace it for the y because it says y is this, so I have to put it in the y spot. So taking that top equation, I would have 2x plus 5, and then in the y spot I now have to replace it with negative x plus 9. Then I finish the rest where it says equals 30. Now I can start solving. So I distribute the 5, I get negative 5x and positive 45. I'm going to combine my two x's, so I get negative 3x. I'm going to subtract 45 over there, so I get negative 3x equal to negative 15, and divide by negative 3. So I've just found that x would be positive 5. Now I have to take this answer and put it back into my solved equation, or if you want to, back into that box. So I'm now going to replace x with 5, and this is tricky, so I do the negative, x becomes 5, and then plus 9. So I get negative 5 plus 9, and then I simplify, I get 4. I write out my ordered pair, and I have x is 5 and y as 4. Now substitution takes a little bit of time because there's so many steps to it. So don't get too frustrated right away. Let one of us know so that we can come help you and try a different way to explain it, because it does take a lot of repetitions until it kind of sinks in. Okay, so just kind of be patient, let it go through it. Maybe you need to rewind and watch the video a second time, or maybe you need to call us over so we can come help you.